Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cunardian Way Podcast, the only Cunard podcast that I've actually know. So today joining me is Mark
Hello.
and Robin.
Good day.
So, firstly, I would like to update everyone about Cunard. Still no sailings properly announced, but you can book some voyages. So let's hope that these later cruises will go on. Um, but Mark would like to tell you a bit about what he is and what he does. Well, used to do.
Thank you very much, Jack. Yes, so I am a former Cunard crew member, and those any Cunarders that would have sailed on Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth during 2011 and 2013 may have met me, and I would have been under the name of DJ Mark Sunshine. So I didn't intend to be the DJ on board the ships. What happened was I was covering for one of my fellow entertainment staff members who was the ship's DJ, and he was sick. So I stepped in and then became the official DJ. And actually, the name, though, DJ Mark Sunshine, was a little bit of a strange story, because before I actually became the DJ, I was doing the weather forecast on the daily news program that the cruise director was doing, the TV show that was broadcast in everybody's staterooms, as we call them, of course, not cabins. And so the cruise director used to hand over to me to do the weather for the next day. And I was just renamed Mark Sunshine. So then when I stepped into being the DJ, I kept the name DJ Mark Sunshine.
How fitting, though.
Well, nobody really wants to be known as Mark Rain or Mark Storm or Mark Fog. So particularly when you're on the ship, you do like a lot of sunshine and good weather.
That is very true.
Absolutely.
So I joined Queen Victoria on January 2011 as one of the entertainment team. And it was just 3 wonderful years that I'll never forget. Probably the 3 best years of my life, because of all what you experience as a crew member, the friendships that you make for life, and then also the places, of course, the different ports in the world that you get to see. Especially working for Cunard, because of the world voyages that they still sail around the world in 4 months. You leave Southampton, come back to Southampton, and just the amazing places that you see, even as a crew member, is something that you never forget for the rest of your life.
No, absolutely. And did you get opportunities to explore many places in the ports when you arrived?
Yes, we are very lucky again. When I've been working on other lines, you only have to stay on board as a crew member. It was 1 out of every 5 ports, depending on how many you have in the team at the time and how busy the actual itinerary is. Sometimes it was 1 out of every 3 ports, which is still no bad thing, because if you're lucky and you stick around, then you get to go back to the port. Again, you may not be lucky this time, but on the next voyage, when we stop there again, then you can get off. But strangely, the only port that I never actually got to disembark and explore was Punta Arenas in Costa Rica, even though I stopped there 4 times.
It just never worked out.
It never worked out. It was always my turn to stay on board, and it was okay. I did get to see many other places. I will definitely never complain about it.
No.
It was just weird how it always ended up being. And then another place that when I joined Queen Elizabeth in January 2012, it was to work on the World Cruise. When I saw the itinerary, I was so excited because it was stopping in Bora Bora.
Oh, wow, yeah.
there. So I was so excited because it was a dream place of mine. And then when I looked at the duties and it had already been worked out who was going to stay on board, unfortunately, Bora Bora was my turn to stay on board.
Oh no.
So I was cursing and not swearing in sort of in my mind of, I can't believe it. Out of all the places that I've wanted to see in my life, Bora Bora is at the top of my list. And all I'm going to be able to do is see it from the ship. So all throughout the voyage before we got there, I was, trying to organize a swap with someone, but no one would swap, understandably.
It's Bora Bora.
Bora Bora. However, on the day that we were moored off, because it was you have to tender in because you could only anchor off the island. It was the worst weather they'd ever seen, and it rained the whole day. There were no beautiful turquoise colors in the sea. Everything was grey. Everything was dark. It was still warm, but it just was horrible. It's horrible
It
weather.
wasn't. It
So I
wasn't Bora
kind of
Bora
Ah,
of the dreams.
yes. So I was looking out and not seeing any colors, any tropical,
The
landscape
waste.
that you just see the pictures, beautiful pictures. It was just grey, and I was actually inside laughing to myself.
It did, because in a weird way it worked out. I mean, you were there, but had you had gone ashore, I mean, the expectation and the reality would certainly not have matched.
Yes, exactly. I would have been so disappointed to been off and then not been able to see it as he'd seen it in all the pictures for all these years. But that voyage anyway was amazing because we stopped in Samoa and also in Fiji and Tahiti as well. So I did actually get to go to these other places. So I definitely would never complain. It was just typical that was the place that I really wanted to see. And like you say, I did see it, but just from the ship. But
Yes.
yes, I just had 3 wonderful years, and as any entertainment team will agree with me, I'm sure any entertainment team that work on ships, we really do have the easiest jobs on the ship. We're there to entertain. We do have time off. And yes, when you're at sea, because when you're at sea and the guests can't disembark, they do then look to the entertainment team to entertain them. So yes, those days are long and they are busy because you are expected to work a lot during the sea days. But then when you get to, dock somewhere amazing, then you get time off. So it's actually one of the best, definitely the best job I've ever had.
Oh, certainly a good trade-off. I mean, your office, your home, travels around the world to these amazing places. You get to interact with varying different people and characters, of course. As as
I mean,
people.
Robin, the job that you do, how much time off or would you get to see land?
Um, so for it in the merchant navy, it really depends on the type of ship that you're on. So for the most part, if you're doing any sort of commerce trade or general cargo or container or tankers, you don't get off the ship often. And if you do, it's only for, you know, a couple of hours. But most commercial ports are not, right in Bora Bora, or you know, you might be going to you might be going into a beautiful port somewhere in the world, but where the ship ties up is about 2 hours outside of the city that everybody would like to travel and see. So
Right.
most seafarers have your Bora Bora experience. They sail past or these legendary or world renowned places, and they get to see them through the window of their cabins. Now I've been fairly lucky. I've sailed up into the up in the Canadian Arctic, in the Northwest Passage, and we took every opportunity during that sail to go ashore. Even though it's pretty barren, there's a weird beauty about it and lots of history.
Yes, it's an area which I think Cunard have sailed to before, but it's not on their regular itineraries. I think though that will happen. I think they were looking to sail up to Alaska, right? I think so.
Yeah, the Queen Elizabeth actually, I believe in 2019,
Aha.
started sailing out of Vancouver and doing runs up to Alaska. So I actually would sailed in those waters. I was out west when the working aboard a long haul ferry, so to speak, sailing just south of Alaska. So we would see all the cruise ships going up. I never came across Queen Elizabeth. She actually departed the day before I got there. She was doing
That's the
those
thing.
runs.
They are distinctive looking ships, aren't they? And with still
Oh,
only having 3 in the fleet, it's going to be one of the queens if you see a red and black funnel.
oh, and it's such gorgeous, hull color and paint scheme, and they just have that uniqueness. They do look like proper ocean liners with that scheme, even though the Queen Mary's technically the only ocean liner.
Yes.
Ships, though.
So with Cunard's paint job, what I like about it is they haven't changed it. It's always been the distinctive red funnel. And
Well, no, go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
oh, is okay. The red funnel, which has also become, as Mark might know, a Southampton ferry brand.
Oh yes, red
Yes.
funnel.
Yeah. But I think that whenever I see a red funnel, it always reminds me of Cunard.
Well, actually, also, I can say for sure that it's helped me find the ship, because if I've been in a port and I've kind of got a bit disorientated, then it's like, okay, I need to find where the port is, and then I just need to find the red and black funnel. And I'm sure anyone that's been on board before and maybe got disorientated in a port, some of these little Spanish places or Italian place, and you just think, oh, I need to get back to the ship. So let's try and find the red and black funnel, and then I know I'm heading in the right direction. Or if you're on an excursion somewhere, and then they show you the view of the ship, it's just incredible, because the first thing you see is the funnel, and it's like, I can pick, particularly if there's other ships in port, I can pick out mine straight away. It's just brilliant. It's beautiful.
It's so distinct, and whenever the Queen Mary pulled into Halifax Harbor and came alongside Pier 21, there's always an extra couple of floors on that pier, on that building, and you can always see in the city that red funnel, Queen Mary, Queen Mary in her home port, so to speak, her birthplace of her ancestors, anyway.
Yes.
Love that funnel, but the QE2 for a period of time had a white funnel, didn't it?
Yes, it did. When it was originally built, um, it did have a white funnel.
And I think one of them, and actually, it might have even been the Queen Mary 2, or not the Queen Mary 2, sorry, the QE2. Did she have a different, like almost a turquoise hull color for a period of time? Might
Yes,
have been one of the.
she was fully white in the 80s because Cunard tried forcing themselves to be like cruise ships pretty much.
Yeah,
They changed their whole kind of status,
their business model, and
which kind of brings us to now. Cunard started doing Vista class cruises, and they're still quite expensive, but obviously you're not gonna see people in tuxedos all the time. You can see people in a hoodie or shorts.
do they do they still like because I know aboard the ships there's certain events, certain times that that you wear your formal attire, and then
Yes,
and
it
and
is.
correct.
It's certainly those Cunarders who have sailed on Cunard ships for a long time still really do want to keep that. The dress code is kind of special, and whilst it has relaxed over the years somewhat, you it's very it'd be very easy just to say, right, okay, it's smart and casual and that's it. But smart on board one of the queens is really smart. You are talking about dicky bow for the men, and a dinner jacket, and then for the ladies a long either long trousers or a long skirt, a dress. It really is still formal. It's proper formal wear, and those that sail with Cunard and have sailed with them for years actually don't want that to change. However, to encourage younger cruisers, then they have had to be a bit more relaxed about it. So when you have now, say, a port day, and people have got less time to get dolled up in their finery, then you tend to find that that is more casual. But still on Cunard, you're not talking about shorts at dinner. It is, or anything, too summery. Whereas you may get away with it on, say, a carnival ship, or one of the other more fun lines where you have more children and families. But Cunard is still maintaining that particular dress code, and as I say, most of us actually still want that.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think it's something very unique. It adds to the overall experience, and I mean, just the elegancy of the ships themselves. And it kind of harkens back to not only the time, the way that we used to cross the Atlantic, but just the etiquette and between people. It puts you in a place and kind of in a mindset and in a feeling that you can't get in shorts and a t-shirt and a fanny pack.
Well,
A
yes.
little bit different. But now, how is it? This is kind of an odd question in terms of dress, and you said your hours of work were quite good, but how often would you have to run and change from a tuxedo into perhaps more casual attire, and then maybe into a Hawaiian shirt? I'm not sure. Would that ever
Well,
cause you any?
if they do announce the dress code on, it's normally in the newspaper or the information leaflet that comes through the door or delivered to the stateroom, then you know the day before exactly what you're going to be wearing, and then that stays for the whole evening. So you know that, yeah. But certainly as entertainment staff, yes. I mean, if we were somewhere hot and tropical, which would be wonderful, and they would have a deck party out on deck, then they would bring out the dance band, the band that they would have in the nightclub. The DJ would be out there, and the entertainment staff, all in Hawaiian shirts, dancing and entertaining. Wonderful.
Having some good fun. Yes.
Yes.
No, I'm in the reserves as well. I work with sea cadets, and I recall days of being in every order of dress that I had in terms of uniform, and having to do constant wardrobe changes, and how that can be at times.
The only time that I did have a bit of a scramble was if I was off a little bit in the afternoon, and then I would hit the gym, and then say 5 o'clock, there'd be a cocktail party in the Queen's Room, which Queen's Room, if anyone isn't sure, is the ballroom at sea. They are unique. The fact that the Three Queens are the only ships that do have these ballrooms at sea, and but they would have a cocktail party for the elite members, the membership scheme, you get invited to the cocktail party. So I would have to turn up in my dinner jacket with Dickie Bow, but half an hour before that, I was still on the treadmill.
Yes, I've been crawling in the dirt in full fatigues or combat uniform, and then a couple hours later in full bib and tucker, number ones, greeting a lieutenant governor, which in Canada each province has a lieutenant governor who's the Queen's representative to that province. So just the dualities of the experiences in kind of one day going through all of that. We had an admiral, a lieutenant governor, and a captain kind of in one day.
Wow.
Visit, so that get that you're in one mindset in one mode, and then next thing you know, you're up in your bib and tucker. I have to admit, I had to Google Dickie Bow because it's not an expression I was familiar with.
Well, actually, I was going to also say that we don't use the term fanny pack either, but I know what that means.
Yes, that's right. I forgot.
It is something that I've experienced before with working in the States in a previous job, so I knew exactly what it was.
Well, that's good. We had that clarification. I hate for that to be floating around in your mind. But what would you call that?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Jack, would you like to join in?
Yeah. We're not too formal about what we call it. I think nowadays we mostly call it a bum bag.
Yes, which probably sounds just as bad.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think there's anything really formal about it, so
No.
not sure how you could spruce it up. Yeah,
No, it's a weird one. Honestly, I don't know why people like them.
it's the a bespoke belt accessory, I guess. I don't know how to class that up. I only remember wearing them in the early 90s.
We do like these differences in language, so yes, but now you've got Dickie Bow as well to add to that.
Certainly add that in. Now, interacting with passengers, I mean, clearly we've had kind of that here, but you must kind of had different experiences with passengers throughout and learning about different cultures or different ways people interact with one another.
Yes, from an entertainment side of things, it was always fascinating to me because as entertainment staff, we host the quizzes, the trivia in the Golden Lion pub. And that's fascinating for many reasons, because depending on where you are and the crowd that you have on board and where they're from, some of the questions in the trivia quiz may not be appropriate. So for instance, it's no good asking if you're sailing around the Caribbean, where you would have a high percentage of guests on board from the US, Canada. It's no good asking about a character in Coronation Street, program that we have on here in England, because that won't be any good. They won't have a clue what you're talking about. So we always have to be careful. We always had to look at every question that we asked during the trivia quiz, because it had to be universal. And for me, fascinating. You can ask about planets or anywhere else in the world, but you can't ask any question. Say if you're sailing in the Mediterranean, so you'd have predominantly British guests on board. If you asked a question that was about American television, then they won't know the answer and they'd be complaining.
Yes, asking about planets is actually quite literally universal, so that's a good way to go. But it's funny you mentioned Coronation Street, because this came up recently in conversation with somebody else. But in Canada, Coronation Street is actually a fairly popular little soap or drama. It's
wow.
I grew up my mother watching it. It used to be on, I believe, Sundays mornings here, Sunday afternoon. So I recall the theme still rings in my head from time to time. Now I
And
can't tell you. I can't tell you the intimate details of those on what is it, Grove Street, or what's the name of the main street they're on there?
Coronation Street.
The Coronation, but the pub I was thinking of. Sorry.
Oh, Rover's Return. Yes.
Rover's Return. That's the one. Can't tell you the intimate details of what happened at Rover's Return, but
I think actually there was a storyline at one point when Coronation Street was on the QE2.
oh really?
Yes, there was. I've seen photos and little clips of it, but not the whole thing. But it was very interesting.
And actually, quite a few of the Coronation Street cast continued sailing on the QE2 for their own holidays. I do know that, which was wonderful. It really did help boost, the popularity, certainly, of traveling on Cunard. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So adapting to passengers would definitely be you would adapt mostly aboard. You would have North Americans or Europeans, correct? Or, all over the world, of course.
It is, yes. It's very international.
Germans, I suppose.
It is, yes. So it's great because also Cunard does cater for those that English isn't their first language. So you would have a French hostess, a German hostess, even a Japanese host or hostess on board. We've had actually Spanish before. So just if Cunard has a group on board from a certain country, then they do tend to provide a host or hostess who can assist them with they go out on excursions with them, and they will actually every day when the captain does the address at 12 o'clock to the whole ship about the weather and everything and what's going on, then quite often after the captain's address, then the host from that country will say something, will translate it for their passengers, for their guests.
And it's definitely something you need to do with on a ship of this nature, having people come from all over.
Yes, but it was great, to meet so many people from all over the world and crew members as well. I can't remember now exactly how many nations we were as a crew, but you're talking about on Queen Victoria, for instance, you've got 900 plus crew. 900 I think there was about 50% were from the Philippines, and then the other 50% were from about 30 plus different nations.
Cunard has always been open to the world, and that's, I think, what really draws people to it. The variety of what Cunard can provide for everyone, and especially all classes.
Yes,
it's very expensive now, but it's not much different to what it was, say, 100 years ago.
That's right. And they are trying, they have tried to adapt to encourage younger cruisers, because many people that have cruised with them, say during the 60s, 70s and 80s, they've now talked to their children and grandchildren about how wonderful the ships are, so that if they can afford it, then they want to experience it as well. And so the average age of cruisers was coming down slowly but surely. It was quite encouraging, really, and I loved seeing the younger families on board, because it was just a breath of fresh air as a crew member, certainly in the entertainment team, and certainly for me as the DJ in the yacht club, to see a young crowd on board. And sometimes, of course, the Queens do the shorter party cruises, which are great because that really does encourage the younger cruiser to experience it just for a few nights. It normally would sail to Belgium or Amsterdam or northern France or to St. Peter Port in Guernsey. And then that way, it's a great introduction to what Cunard can do, and hopefully encourage them to come back on a longer cruise. And but on those party cruises, you definitely get the younger crowds who are up for a good time. They want to stay in the nightclub and experience all the sports activities. So that it always keeps the entertainment team busy when there's a younger crowd on board.
Yes.
For sure, and especially the addition of like the single traveler cabins or staterooms aboard the Queen Mary. That's kind of appeals to the younger generation, and the ability to travel to different places. But you unpack once, and your hotel room goes along with you.
A very popular thing that Cunard does provide as well are the dance hosts for our single ladies on board who wish to ballroom dance. It's a really big thing for single Cunarders, as I say, particularly female, and actually some single men who can ballroom dance know that they will always get a dance partner if they can, dance, if they can do a waltz, if they can do a cha-cha. And there's always willing ladies that want to dance and certainly with Strictly Come Dancing or Dancing with the Stars, as you have over the other side of the pond, it's really brought ballroom dancing and Latin American dancing right up there in popularity. And the fact that the Queens do have this ballroom at sea, and they do provide dance hosts for ladies to dance. It's actually a really big selling point. It's a unique selling point for Cunard.
So I hope any gentlemen listening have taken note of your advice on how to foster new friendships aboard, and have listed several types of dances that they should start to master.
I'd never ballroom danced before, and I quickly learnt, let me tell you, because it was something that we also had to do as entertainment team in the ballroom at night, to be present and to be, dancing with the guests. And I really had to learn quick how to do a rumba and a cha-cha. I'm not saying I'm particularly good at dancing, but it was something that I quickly had to learn, and it was actually really interesting. And any other entertainment team members that may hear me will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a quick learning curve to get those dance steps learned.
So far, I've only mastered what my sister lovingly refers to as the yacht clubber, which is a little bit of turning of the torso and spiraling of the arms a bit, kind of standing in one spot.
But that's good enough.
I mean, you might get some looks, but good ones, we promise.
But everybody's there for a good time, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the good things about vacation is you're there for a good time, not a long time.
I mean, of course, no one knows when ships are going to resume sailing, and it's the big question. Everyone wants to know, when will we get back to normal? I mean, it is probably the big question that the world is asking right now. Yeah. And those people that are cruisers, particularly Cunard fans, I know are missing cruising so much. And unfortunately, the cruising industry did come under quite, I think it was, I do want to say it was unfair, but I'm not surprised that it was made more of in the media when coronavirus started spreading through that princess ship in Asia, and it was all over the news, and it just really didn't do much for any people that haven't cruised before. I think it might just put them off a little, but certainly for those people that cruise a lot, I know it hasn't put them off. So, which is a good thing. So it means as soon as people feel safe, and as soon as the cruise ships, say cruise industry say, right, this is what we're doing to ensure guest safety, I know they'll be back in their droves because they just can't wait to get back on board these ships.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. Anybody that I talk to that have cruised before or are avid cruisers are just waiting, just ready to jump aboard at the first opportunity that they have. But anybody that hasn't cruised before is a bit wary, and exactly because of the situation that you described. And I believe it was much unjust. It was very early in the beginning of the pandemic of what was going on. Um, Nobody really understood what was happening, and the country decided, no, we're going to keep everybody aboard the ship, and fortunately, the virus spread. But it's a few good articles in cruise industry news about that talk about what actually happened in terms of coronavirus aboard cruise ships. And Mark, you're absolutely right. The media kind of grabbed onto one aspect and one angle of that. Didn't really look at the whole picture. So there are definitely people wary of it, and it's hard to explain to some people that when cruising resumes, that people are going to go back aboard, and people who
Yeah.
haven't cruised wonder why that is. And
I know,
they,
speaking as a former crew member and as a cruiser, because I have I've been on board the Queen Mary 2 in 2017 as a guest, and in fact, my family have got one booked to go on the Queen Elizabeth this July, and I was hoping to join them, as it will be my 50th year. Can I just add? So it's a special year. So I was thinking of joining them, but I haven't booked, only because, like everyone is just waiting to see what happens. But, and I do have a feeling that maybe that won't go ahead in July in light of what's going on right now. But I know we'll just reschedule, we'll just rebook, and we will be back.
oh, for sure. I think we'll be back and kind of come back strong. And as the rest of the world kind of normalizes, you'll see people return. I know a couple of local cruisers here that they like to attend a cruise aboard the Oasis vessels, or they were going to sail aboard the Oasis of the Seas, and then the pandemic, of course, canceled that sailing. So in their backyard, they created this little area, and they called it the Oasis of the Trees. That's where they spent their cruise vacation.
Well, if that's what gets them through.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what I'm doing right now is I'm setting my house up like a White Star Line boat. I've got White Star Line China signs everywhere, and it's just like it makes you feel like happier inside. You got like it's not your house. You pretend, and it's always nice to just imagine.
Yes, just place yourself in immerse yourself in the environment.
Yeah, definitely. And there is a couple questions that I do want to ask Mark, and they're
Yes.
interesting questions. So, what do you think was the most difficult thing in your job? And was there any like difficult times?
The most difficult thing. Well, as I mentioned before, I do feel that from an entertainment team side of things, we do have the easiest job on board the ship, or did. That's what I felt anyway. Because it's fun, we're there to entertain, to have a laugh with fellow guests, to remain professional. I mean, sometimes it was a bit tricky when the seas were rough, and you could sort of see people getting a little bit green, and you have to remain professional and as if nothing's happening. A bit like, like the crew when the Titanic was going down, everything's fine. So sometimes that can be a challenge, because if you are prone to seasickness yourself as a crew member, it's really, it's quite embarrassing to start with, but it can be a problem because, you're supposed to be there to entertain the folk that aren't suffering from any seasickness, because some people just don't, and they still want to have a good time. So yes, that could be a challenge at times, to sort of stay smiling even if inside your stomach is going round and round.
Yeah,
It
I couldn't imagine
certainly.
doing anything like that. I can entertain, but not for very long because I get bored myself. I do get bored of myself.
I was about to say, are you saying you get bored of yourself?
Yeah.
I did have a job when I was in the entertainment team to host the talent show. So this was a guest talent show that guests signed up for at the beginning. If they felt they had any talent at all, be it doing a dance or maybe a song, or we occasionally had, and it was gentlemen that thought they were comedians. They would see the comedian in the theatre at night and think, oh, yes, I can do that. So they would sign up for the talent show. We would have, I wouldn't call it a rehearsal just before, but we would get together and I would say to them, right, okay, look, you've got 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was, however many people had signed up. We knew we'd only have half an hour in the Queen's Room or in the theatre where we would have the talent show before the next thing was scheduled. So anyway, I would say to them, look, you've got 3 or 4 minutes. Can you tell me some of your jokes? So they would rattle off their act. Sometimes I would think, oh, I really don't think that's very funny, or that's definitely inappropriate. And we would have to vet, what their jokes were going to be so that we could say yes to that one, no to that one. However, this particular chap who thought, well, that's fine, I'll just tell him these few jokes, but I'll save a couple of my dirty ones for when I actually am on stage. So he started, and it was just going downhill with every joke that he was giving, and they were just getting dirtier and ruder. And that is definitely not the Cunard way, let me tell you. So, so I had to step in. It was one of those, right, okay, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I have to do something here because this talent show is going to be, it's my responsibility to make sure that what is happening here is family entertainment. So I had to step in and say, ladies and gentlemen, that's wonderful. If we can get a round of applause for whatever his name was. And he said, but I haven't finished yet. Yes, I think we've heard enough. and it was just awful. And that was definitely one of those times when I did want the ship literally to swallow me up. And yes, you do learn very quickly how to act quickly and say things to help the situation when you're an entertainment team member. But that was one of those moments that it was, yes, but I won't forget that.
Did anyone
The worst possible place to be, kind of in the entertainment industry or the service industry is having to address a guest behavior in some way that is polite, maintains their feelings, and they don't lose face. They continue to have a good time. A little bit of an awkward situation.
But yes, it's very entertaining anyway, that talent show, because everything could happen and it normally did.
Now, did anyone clap?
Well, yes, that's the other good thing, isn't it? Particularly us Brits. We're very actually, no, I have to say probably Americans clap for things more than they should. Like the British actually may be more honest with things, whereas like if I watch something on an American TV show, I always find they laugh and clap at things that I wouldn't think is particularly funny. And it's just the difference in humor between us and Americans, but there is a big difference.
We are certainly I always note kind of a change from when I was growing up to now is I call it the overuse of the standing O. Like, oh, well, we're giving a standing ovation for this. We applaud for just about everything, and then we give standing O's for standing ovations for things that you would probably just applaud for normally. But we've kind of upped the
Yes.
scale in terms of. But you're right. It's very true. We'll clap for just about anything.
Yes, and
Sometimes
for all the
sometimes you're
manner.
clapping and you'll go, wait, what did I just applaud?
Yes, I was at a concert once, and after every song, the people
Yes.
around me that were Americans, not Canadians, but they stood up. They did give a standing ovation after every song.
Oh wow. No, I don't think that would be normal here.
Jack, you have another question?
Oh, yes. So, with your time at Cunard, did you ever think you would go any up, like promotions or anything, or did you think that you were just going to stay as you were?
It is a very good question, and there are opportunities, that's for sure. One good thing with Cunard is that they allowed you to try different things. So if I'd have expressed an interest, for instance, to tried something else in one of the other departments, then they would have been open to that. But you do get on board as well as an expert in your field. So while I wouldn't have ever thought, right, that's it. From now on, I'm going to be captain on the bridge. I think you do have to be a little bit careful there, because a lot of I wouldn't ever want to be a waiter either, for instance. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just would have dropped all the plates. So people that do it are an expert in their field, and they have got the job because they are an expert at it. Because they've come. The other good thing about Cunard is when they hire, particularly something like a restaurant staff or whatever, you've had to have come from a 5-star hotel in the first place.
Right.
So with entertainment team, yes, there is the deputy entertainment director, and then there's the entertainment director. So that would have been the way I would have gone if I'd have stayed. But I was actually very happy being DJ Mark Sunshine, let me tell you. I had my own little department. And as part of the entertainment team, it was like, right, okay, I'm going to do a pop quiz today, or I'm going to host something. And they were always delighted with any extra things that you could do to entertain the passengers, the guests. Then that was always well received.
Yeah. So next, I want to talk about the future and what we think will happen to the brand itself. So, Robin, do you want to try and say what you think will happen?
Yeah, I think that Cunard in particular will, especially post pandemic, will continue to kind of thrive and grow. And as kind of Mark alluded to earlier through conversation, we are talking about dress. I think there will be we'll see a bit more augmentation to attract a different generation of cruisers in several years, maybe a decade or so. Um, as some cruisers retire from the seagoing life, and other people become new cruisers. But I think for Cunard, they've got a strong outlook, and I think we'll see that post pandemic.
Definitely. Because one of the things that I hate to talk about is with the future of Cunard comes with the future of Queen Mary too,
Yes,
and
I
it's she's nearly 20 years old. Obviously, she's 17 um, this year, which is amazing. She's old, um, and I don't know what age that the original Queen Mary retired, but it think it was 30, maybe 20, maybe more. It might be more. But the future of Queen Mary 2 doesn't seem to be going anywhere because as technology rises, so does she. She is very like advanced in technology, and like she had the 2016 refit, making her to the standard of a 2016 cruise ship.
Oh yes, I mean lots of technology in there. I believe when they designed the Queen Mary 2, and this is could be completely wrong. I believe they designed her for about a 40-year lifespan. I may be mistaken.
They built her for a strong purpose, and that was to continue the transatlantic ocean liner experience. And that's what everyone wants. You know, everyone's watched Titanic, and they're like, I want to do that, but make it to New York, and experience like a luxury, like be treated like like luxury. And that's what I think they're gonna cling on to Queen Mary too, and suck out every last drop of excitement and everything that she has.
Yeah, hopefully so.
I definitely think there's a lot of years left in Queen Mary 2. When they look at something like the QE2 moored in Dubai right now, that went on for years and years, I think Queen Mary 2 will do the same. There's so much left, I think, that she's got to give. And yes, if they have refitted her up to sort of 2016 standards, then they're only hoping that she will just go on. And I'd be more than happy to sail on her in another 20 years' time.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, I have not had the opportunity to sail aboard one of the Queens, and I very much look forward to it, with Queen Mary 2, of course, being at the top of my list, doing a transatlantic.
It is nothing like it, and the fact that she's built for that purpose, unlike other ships. Not talking about Queen Elizabeth or Queen Victoria, because they weren't built to do transatlantics, even though they are quite able to do them quite easily. Having experienced transatlantics on all three ships now. Definitely the Queen Mary 2 is built for that purpose. You don't feel a thing, even if it's rough outside. You look outside and all you see is waves, and then you realize actually that you're not actually moving at all. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yes, it's kind of gliding across the Atlantic, and doing transatlantics, of course. There's other adventures that go along with that, whether it be mid-transatlantic stop to check on somebody who's rowing across from one continent to the other, to mercy missions for search and rescues, to responding to maydays to sailors who have been stranded. There's many, many, many stories of that. And of course, where I am in Newfoundland, we're the first 20 minutes from where I'm sitting right now is the most easterly point in North America. And that's where, if there's any medical issues aboard Queen Mary, the search and rescue squadron from the Royal Canadian Air Force flies out of Gander, and will pick up passengers if required that require medical assistance, and fly them into St. John's. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, look me up, give me a ring, see what I can do.
Yeah,
I'll definitely bear that in mind, Robin.
If we ever get
Don't get in
I'll
that situation, please.
So Mark, what do you think will happen in the future?
I wish I could look into the crystal ball and come up with something amazing. I mean, we have the fourth Queen that is scheduled to join next year. I believe Queen Anne is the name that you gave me earlier. They haven't put any itineraries on sale for her, and so therefore she may be delayed in light of what's going on with the pandemic. So I just think that once cruise lines are fully prepared to welcome back passengers, and it may be that guests will have to show some sort of vaccine passport to join. That may be something that they bring in, so that everyone that's on board knows that any of their fellow guests have also had the vaccine, so they can cruise in confidence. There may be something like that they bring in, but I know for sure that they won't just sail just because there's demand for it. They will make sure that it's totally the right time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, there's opportunity for innovation in terms of how things are done. You're seeing cruise ships start doing the kind of the virtual muster station drill aboard. So in terms, you come into your cabin and a little video will play, and you have a time period in which you are to go check in to your muster station with your life-saving equipment versus doing the one mass, uh, what we call muster drill.
Right.
I think you'll see kind of may drive some innovations along that way that probably end up being very good for the passenger.
Yes, I mean, there's so many. Oh, there's 1,000,001 different things that they'll have to think of. Even things like playing cards in the casino,
Yes.
buttons on the slot machines, and then the fact that the theatre, might be able to take a couple of thousand. I'm not talking about one of the Queens, but say one of the bigger ships where you have theatres that can take a couple of thousand passengers who would all be sitting next to one another. There's so much to think about before any ship sails again, in confidence.
We can certainly have confidence that they're going to do the best that they can to maintain the experiences that they're able to offer and keep everybody safe and enjoying themselves.
Yeah, but I know there's millions like me that can't wait to get back on board a ship, because there's even been the question, which is ridiculous in my eyes, is that will cruising ever be the same again? Is there a future in cruising and all this sort of thing? Well, you've got these multi-billion-dollar ships at the moment parked out in these bays waiting, so they're not just going to disappear. And yeah, there's millions of people like me that can't wait to cruise again, so it will be back.
Oh, for sure. I think too. Some people see the news of cruise ships being scrapped, and it's kind of misleading because essentially what uh, cruise lines are doing is they're just bringing forward their decommissioning dates for some ships, and they're in some cases they're decommissioning a ship earlier, but the replacement ship is already being built. They just don't require that vessel anymore because, well, nobody's sailing. So just bringing that forward. So it can be a bit misleading if you just follow the news of ships being scrapped and and mothballed or sitting at anchor in a bay, awaiting assignment essentially. But I agree. I think the outlook and again, especially for Cunard, I think is very good.
Yes, definitely. Because as you talk about the bays, I've seen Queen Mary 2 and Queen Victoria countless times, and the way they just they still have their engines on, and they're just humming
Yes.
away, just sat there. And I've used my handheld radio, and I've made contact with the bridge because they're still there. They're all there, and
Yeah.
they are just waiting. Really, they just need the green light, and then they'll be able to dock, get people on board, with all the markings and stuff. Yeah, making contact with the bridge, you're not really allowed to do it, but
Yeah. No.
what else are they gonna have? To be honest, then it's not
Well,
like um,
it's speaking as somebody who's been up on the bridge and who've been received many peculiar radio calls. It's not like we're going to jump through the radio or call Coast Guard on you. There's certain areas in the world that if you listen to VHF channel 16, which is the International Calling Distress channel, you may just hear karaoke being sung through the radio. So I don't think in many places a seafarer, unless there's things going on, like they're going into a anchoring operation or bringing the ship in alongside, you might not want to call them at that time because
Yeah,
those times are
because
a bit stressful.
yeah, they were just like sat there pretty much, and I think it just gives them a little bit of like a smile when they got
Yeah.
like a 15-year-old wanting to speak to them because it's like they're idols pretty much. Um, I did ask them if they could do the horn, and obviously they couldn't because it was in a residential area, but they would have done if it wasn't so residential around where I was. Um, yeah, I've been fairly close to them, but not as close as being on board. But they are so like even when they're out at sea, they look massive, and it's overwhelming. And I hopefully I'll get some money together and step on board one day and make my dreams come true.
Well, good
Yes.
luck. Good luck, Jack.
So I think it's about time we finish up now. Um, this is the first podcast and definitely not the last one. So
No, for sure.
so it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you for asking me, Jack.
You're
It's
welcome.
thanks very much for having me. Pleasure meeting you, Mark, as well, and talking to couple of fellow friends from across the pond.
And don't send us any of your winter storms that you've just had.
No, they're lovely right around Christmas, and then after that, we're good. After this, I have to go put my coveralls on and go shovel the end of the driveway. Got about 2 feet of snow there to get dug out.
Well, see you everybody and have a nice day.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.